Welcome, Patriots, to the Raw Feed. It's a late night here at the Next News Network studios. We told you we'd be here today, and here we are. I'm Gary Franchi, broadcasting live from just outside Chicago to millions worldwide on YouTube, Rumble, and X. And what sets us apart from every other show? Well, we don't just report the news. We interact with you, our viewers, getting your real-time reactions to today's most explosive stories. Now, as you're watching, share the stream via text message to bypass big tech's algorithm. Ex-viewers, repost this show to your followers. Let's make sure everyone sees what's really happening in America. We're reading our super chats and Rumble rants between segments, featuring them on the screen for the world to see. Send them right now, even before we dive into today's bombshells. And for those who want to support independent journalism privately, you can hit those donation links in the description. Every dollar helps us fight the information war. It's week 18 of Donald Trump's historic return to the White House, and the gloves are completely off. Today's show connects to a powerful moment in history that mirrors our current battles. On this day in 1937, the Golden Gate Bridge opened to the public. But here's what they don't teach you. The same government that celebrated this engineering marvel was simultaneously seizing gold from American citizens under FDR's tyrannical Executive Order 6102. They promised to protect that gold at Fort Knox. Sound familiar? Well, today we're exposing how that same government still refuses to show us if our gold even exists, while Trump demands answers they won't give. And just like in 1937, we're living through a time when the government takes what's yours and hides the truth. But this time, we are fighting back. We've got 5 explosive stories that prove the establishment is crumbling. Trump has just declared war on Harvard, freezing billions in funding, and ordered mass deportations of foreign students. The ivory tower elites are panicking. But my friends, that is only the appetizer this evening. The French President Macron, he got slapped by his own wife. It happened on camera, and I mean slapped, right as he landed for trade talks. And the French, they tried to cover it up, but we've got the footage that shows their president being humiliated on the world stage. And then we're going to dive deep into the Fort Knox conspiracy. Trump and Musk promised to audit our gold reserves, and then they went completely silent. Why? What did they discover that shut down the most transparent administration in U.S. history? And Democrats are hemorrhaging young male voters faster than Biden forgets his own name, so they're spending, guess what, $20 million on something called SAM. Yes, that's their pathetic attempt to infiltrate video games and podcasts. They're literally trying to buy back the voters that they insulted for years. And we've also got this news. NPR is suing Trump for cutting their taxpayer funding, claiming it violates free speech. Since when does the First Amendment guarantee government paychecks for propaganda? We'll expose their hypocrisy with actual tweets from their own executives. Now, do you want to show off your favorite news source while supporting real journalism? Check out our merch shop at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. The link is in the description, and wear your values proudly. You can also join our YouTube channel memberships for exclusive perks. Each level unlocks special acknowledgement in the chat, behind-the-scenes uploads, and access to our members-only 24/7 Discord, where patriots gather to discuss what is really happening. So click join below this video to choose your level. These aren't just stories, they are proof that everything that we've warned about is happening right now. The establishment's desperate, foreign leaders are cracking under pressure, our wealth is being hidden, and the left is throwing money at problems that they created. So buckle up, patriots. We're about to expose truths that will shake you to your core. So keep on watching. And let's welcome you to the show. Who is hanging out tonight on this late stream Raw Feed? Joe Carroll Dodds, what's up? Villain, good thing I'm off tomorrow. Yeah, it's going to be a late night. Sabrina is here. Patrick Duff. Ophicus 111 is back. Sabrina's here. Lori Newland is here. Duty to Rebel hanging out. Bruce Rideout. Rocky Shepherd. What's up? We got the church warden in Southwest Florida. We got Jeremy Olson, Diana Lindenberg, Michigan Girl. What's up, Michigan Girl? We got the Irish Viking. Yeah, I love that name, the Irish Viking. That is awesome. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hey, check it out. We got something here. I'm seeing it now. The Alex Jones tip jar. Here it is, the first $5 of the night. Here it is. Boom, boom. I see it. It just came in from Villain. All right, so you are the first one to put the $5 into the Alex Jones Was Right jar. There it is. Money in the jar right there for the world to see. What's up? Alex Jones was right. Let's get that jar filled up today. I've got some funny money here we can use. This will be the virtual representation of your super chat as it enters into the jar. Got a big stack here. I asked Angie yesterday to go on Amazon and find some funny money, and she found some really good funny money. This is actually, I mean, it's double-sided. It's really, really good. So there's hundreds, there's $2 bills, 5s, 10s, 20s, and 50s. So we'll see how this pans out tonight. Okay, where are we going from here? Okay, I'm going to say hello to some more folks before we jump into the big show real quick. Okay, let's see. We got Mag Dump is here. Marnie Savick is here. Sabrina just posted the PayPal link. Thank you for that. You can find that link in the description as well. Alex Jones is one daring, gutsy guy. Bless him, absolutely. And we have his faithful frog here, keeping watch for all of his frogs that have been poisoned. Yeah, and they just started loving each other, I guess. Yeah. Anyway, we got Australia's here. Tony Gray. Deplorable Diva, what's up? Welcome to the late night show. We got Xena in Michigan. We got the Grand Wazoo. The Mud Shark is here. We got the Goat Biscuit in the house. I am here. Stupid phone. SRC. Duty to Rebel says, Info Warrior for life, y'all. Yep, Alex Jones certainly had an impact on my life. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him and Ron Paul and Aaron Russo. Shinyman should be giving the money from the NPR to true, free, factual news like this channel, the Next News Network. Thank you. Thank you for that. Had a great interview today. It's going to publish tomorrow. Jonathan Otto, before the interview began, we could only post it on X for reasons that I'm sure you can figure out. But we posted it on X. You got to watch it. Check it out. It's a great interview. It was before our actual interview. He blew my mind with some of the things he was talking about. So I'm like, let's roll tape and let's get this and put it out there. So make sure you check that out on our X account. Who else is here? Sabrina, Houston, Texas. Yana in Ontario. Lavanna Burns, Houston, Texas in the house. MVPO of the MPC. Look up these corrupt politicians in Massachusetts. Loyalty to Truth in the house. Misty Dawn. What's up, Misty in Texas? We got Jerry in Louisiana, too. Who else is here? Do you guys want me to get to the news, or you got to just hang out in the chat room all night? We got KK. What's up, KK? We got Randy Jansen in Taiwan. Whoa, Taiwan in the house. Love it. Love it, love it. Who else is here? Ophikus making the frogs gay again. No, we're not going to let that happen at all. Fran is here. What's up? Smoochy, Smoochy. What's up, Smoochy, Smoochy? Karen Myron. I hope I stay awake. Well, get some coffee brewing. Do it. Get it started. We got a lot to unpack tonight. Todd and I have been working all day structuring this show for you. So I really hope that everything just goes off without a hitch. Round of applause to Todd for sticking through it all today. A couple other notes I want to mention. We couldn't do the show without Brian, of course. He is our fearless producer I've been working with for like 20 years. But also, one of our team members got a message today. Had to take his wife to the hospital. I urged him to do so. So just say a prayer for an unnamed team member who's not with us right now. Hopefully everything will pan out. So say a prayer for them. And also say a prayer for my father. He's having a procedure done tomorrow just to check some things. You know, he's been having some issues, my father, down in Florida. So say a prayer for my dad. I am his namesake. He is the original Gary Franchi, and he loves to talk about his son going to the White House and all of his friends, because I have his name and he has my name. So it's pretty interesting when when those worlds collide down in Florida. And we got a lot of fans down there who are friends of my father, and they love the show. So shout out to all the folks down there in Cape Coral, and a big shout out to my dad, who's watching right now, lying in bed, and he's getting ready for his procedure in the morning. We got Lori Newfin just dropped some cash. Got some cash to drop. Super chat cash. Okay, what's up, Lori? Dropping a 5 spot right into the Alex Jones was right jar. Joining the first one here. Okay, here we go. Going in. I'll get it. I'll make it work. Okay, here we go. I know. Boom. There it is. All right. Let's see if we can get that jar filled up before the end of the night, right? Okay. I know we got to get the story going. We got to get the show going. I can sit here and hang out all night with you guys in the chat room, but we really do have work to do because we have a republic to keep. Remember what Benjamin Franklin said after they drafted the U.S. Constitution? What have thou wrought? A republic, if you can keep it. And that is our charge, to keep the republic. That is your charge. That is my charge. And that is what we do here on the Next News Network. It doesn't matter who is in power. Obama, Bush, Biden, Trump. It is our charge to keep the republic. And we shall do that, you and me together. So have you shared the show yet? Have you reposted this yet? I hope you have, because we got to get these numbers up. The truth must march forward. And you guys are the ones that hold the key in your thumb when you hit share. Copy the link, post it to your text messages, send it out to all your friends, spam everybody. Tell them Gary's live. He wants you here. He asks you to be here. And if you're on X, I know you're watching on X. We got like thousands of people watching on X. Make sure you do exactly that. You hit reshare right now. You are the one that holds the power. Bruce, what's up, Bruce? Hang on, guys. Wait a second. Bruce just dropped $10. We got a show to do, guys. You guys are throwing money at me. I love it. Okay, here we go. Here's $10. Yeah, what's up, Bruce? Keep it going, he says. All right, we got $10 right here. Is this, yeah, one $10 bill. We're gonna keep filling up this jar tonight. But the show is only getting started. Thank you, Bruce, for that. This is awkward. Okay, here we go. Here's Bruce's 10. Boom. And then what I saw? Deplorable Diva dropping $5. Thank you. And she says that they're praying for my father. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. And I'm going to drop $5 in the jar for you as well. Thank you for that. Okay, this could get time consuming, but I don't mind. It's a visual representation. Some people like to do it with digital graphics and sound effects. We do it the old-fashioned way, the analog way. Morgan Edwards dropping 10 as well for my father and for the unnamed team member. Okay, here is another $10. So we're already at $35 right now in the Alex Jones was right jar. We have not even begun to fight yet. But I'm fighting to get this in. I know I could take the lid off, I know, but it's more dramatic if I have it with the little slit at the top. Okay, I know, guys, I know. There's a million ways to cut an apple. All right, let's get into our first story of the night. What? Oh, yes, we have a trivia question. My bad. Okay, Brian, thank you for reminding me. Let's go to our trivia question. Okay. In 1974, the last public inspection of Fort Knox included how many members of Congress? A, was it 50 congressional representatives? B, 12 members from both chambers? C, only 6 members and 1 senator? Or D, the entire House Banking Committee? The poll is active on the YouTube channel. in the chat room at the top. You can go ahead and vote there. You can drop a message in the chat room or in the comment section with your answer. We will give you the answer after this segment. Let's go. They say Fort Knox is impenetrable. Bomb-proof walls, 22-ton vault doors, and enough firepower to stop an army. But here's what they don't tell you. All that security isn't to keep people out. It's to keep the truth locked inside. For over 50 years, no American has been able to verify if our gold is really there. Senators with top-secret clearance can't even get in. Trump promised answers and then went silent. Musk wanted to live stream the audit, then disappeared from the conversation. So what are they hiding behind those massive doors? Well, the answer might destroy everything that you believe about America's health, so keep watching. And speaking of gold mysteries, here is what we do know. Every 6 years, your dollar loses half its buying power. While the government hides the truth about Fort Knox, your savings are vanishing in plain sight. That $100,000 account today could feel like $50,000 by 2031. You see it at the pump, the grocery store, everywhere prices soar while your dollar crashes. But there is one asset they can't hide or devalue. That's physical gold in your possession. And that's why I trust Noble Gold Investments. Unlike Fort Knox, Phantom Reserves, they deliver real gold and silver that you can hold. No games, no secrets, just transparent pricing and one-on-one guidance. And right now, qualified accounts receive a 10-ounce, a free one, a 10-ounce silver American flag bar. It is beautiful. You can see it on the screen. Visit nextnewsgold.com to protect your wealth with gold you actually own, and you can actually audit yourself. That's nextnewsgold.com, or call that number 877-646-5347. And when you call, do me a favor, tell Colin that Gary Franchi said, what's up? All right, so Trump was ready to storm Fort Knox to expose the greatest financial heist in U.S. history, then silence, no visit, no audit, no explanation. Where's the gold? Who took it? And why has no one seen it since 1974? This is the Fort Knox thread they don't want you to see. We just posted this on X, and it is going viral already. Now, in February of 2025, Trump repeatedly vowed to audit Fort Knox. He made statements on Air Force One and during speeches. Elon Musk called for a live stream, and by March, both men went silent. The narrative was shut down at the highest level with no follow-up. In fact, I was going to ask the Treasury Secretary while I was on site at the White House. That was one of my key questions I wanted to ask. Give us an update. What's going on? But wasn't able to get that question out. Let's take a look real quick at some of these moments when President Trump said that the audit was going to happen.
Steal the gold, and we're going to open up the doors. I'm going to see if we have gold there. We want to find out, did anybody steal the gold in Fort Knox? Don't be totally surprised. We opened the door. We'll say, there's nothing here. They stole this too.
We're actually going to Fort Knox to see if the gold is there, because maybe somebody stole the gold.
Maybe somebody stole the gold. Well, Fort Knox hasn't had a public audit since 1974. That inspection was superficial, one vault, limited access, no full inventory. For over 50 years, Americans have been denied visual, physical, or third-party verification of their own national wealth. Senator Rand Paul demanded a full audit. He called on Musk's efficiency agency, the Doge Boys, to inspect the vault. Corporate media laughed. Government ignored him. But Paul's demand exposed the exact fear they wanted buried: independent eyes on America's gold supply. Here is the letter that Rand Paul sent to Treasury Secretary Bessent, February 19th of 2025. Okay. Now, what else happened here?
Why we're not even on the...
Let's listen here.
Well, I've been trying to go down and see the gold, make sure it's all there for about 10 years. During the first Trump administration, I got permission. You have to get permission all the way up to the Secretary of Treasury. And then the Secretary of Treasury said, well, I want to go down there too. And then he said, I want to go down there when the eclipse is coming through Kentucky too, so I can see the eclipse and the gold at the same time. But they came when I wasn't there. So I tried for 10 years. I set up the appointment. And then because they wanted to see the eclipse, they changed the appointment. I didn't get to go down. But the Secretary of Treasury and the senior senator from Kentucky did go down and attest that they believe they saw the gold down there.
So what do you think the problem is?
You know, I think some of them may not think it needs to be audited all the time, but I think the more sunlight, the better, more transparency, the better. Yeah. And also it brings attention to the fact that gold still has value, and implicitly, not explicitly, but implicitly, gold still gives value to the dollar. Yeah. That's why we don't get rid of it. You know, we've got it, the IMF has it, the World Bank has it. Most of the central banks around the world have gold, and it's an implicit trust that the dollar still has some backing.
Senator Rand Paul has asked for an audit of Fort Knox to make sure that the United States gold, 4,580 tons of gold, is still in there. I'm happy to hear this, but I'm actually shocked. Why isn't this being done every year? Makes you think why we're not even on the gold standard anymore, right? What's going to happen when they find out that all 4,580 tons aren't there? So join the conversation down below. What do you think they're going to find? I don't think this is going to be as bad as a Geraldo Rivera situation where he opens up the safe and nothing's in there, but is all 4,580 tons going to be in there? Comment down below.
That's the question. Senator Mike Lee confirmed being repeatedly denied entry into Fort Knox. He has clearance for nuclear weapon sites, but not America's gold vault. That denial is intentional. It proves the truth about Fort Knox is not just hidden, it's actively restricted. Here is the thread, or he was actually quote tweeting Elon Musk right here. A U.S. senator, he wrote, a U.S. senator, I tried repeatedly to get into Fort Knox. Fort Knox replies, you can't come into Fort Knox. Me, why? It's a military installation, they reply. I'm a senator. I go to military bases all the time. Fort Knox, you still can't come because you can't. Okay, that's where we're at right now. Now, continuing, we have this. The U.S. Mint claims Fort Knox holds 147.3 million ounces of gold worth over $950 billion. That figure is unverifiable. No independent audit has confirmed it in over 5 decades. The number exists on paper, not in provable physical form. In 1933, FDR seized gold from Americans under Executive Order 6102. That gold was moved to Fort Knox, and what began as a national safeguard turned into a generational blackout. The gold that was taken from citizens may no longer even exist. For decades, insiders have claimed that some gold bars were replaced with gold-plated tungsten. The metals weigh the same, but tungsten is worthless. This deception is chemically undetectable without drilling into the bars, something audits have never allowed.
That eventually, naturally, gold prices immediately began to soar. 9 years later, gold sold for $880 per ounce, 25 times what the gold in Fort Knox was sold for. One would think that eventually someone in the government would get wind of what was happening and blow the whistle. The largest fortune in the history of the world, stolen. Shades of the old James Bond film, Goldfinger. Well, as a matter of fact, Ian Fleming, the author of the James Bond series, was head of the British counterintelligence service, MI5.
Some believe in the intelligence community that he wrote much of his fiction as a warning, as many authors of fiction do.
If the removal of all the good delivery gold from Fort Knox can be viewed as a deliberate raid on the U.S. Treasury, then such an operation might well have been years in the making, namely 40 years. Certainly enough time for Fleming to get wind of it and try to prevent it.
So just how did the story of the Fort Knox gold robbery get out?
It all started with an article in a New York periodical in 1974. The article charged that the Rockefeller family was manipulating the Federal Reserve to sell off Fort Knox gold at bargain basement prices to anonymous European speculators. 3 days later, the anonymous source of the story, Louise Auchincloss Boyer, mysteriously fell to her death from the window of her 10th floor apartment in New York. How would Mrs. Boyer have known of the Rockefeller connection to the Fort Knox gold heist? She was the longtime secretary of Nelson Rockefeller.
For the next 14 years, this man, Ed Durrell, a wealthy Ohio industrialist, devoted himself to a quest for the truth concerning the Fort Knox gold. He wrote thousands of letters to over 1,000 government and banking officials, trying to find out how much gold was really left and where the rest of it had gone.
Edith Roosevelt, the granddaughter of President Teddy Roosevelt, questioned the actions of the government in a March 1975 edition of the New Hampshire Sunday News. Allegations of missing gold from our Fort Knox vaults are being widely discussed in European financial circles. But what is puzzling is that the administration is not hastening to demonstrate conclusively that there is no cause for concern over our gold treasure, if indeed it is in a position to do so.
Unfortunately, Ed Durrell never did accomplish his primary goal, a full audit of the gold reserves in Fort Knox. It's incredible that the world's greatest treasure has had little accounting or auditing. This gold belonged to the American people, not the Federal Reserve and their foreign owners. One thing is certain, the government could blow all of this speculation away in a few days with a well-publicized audit under the searing lights of media cameras. It has chosen not to do so. One must conclude that they are afraid of the truth such an audit would reveal. What is the government so afraid of? Here's the answer. When President Ronald Reagan took office in 1981, his conservative friends urged him to study the feasibility of returning to a gold standard as the only way to curb government spending. It sounded like a reasonable alternative, so President Reagan appointed a group of men called the Gold Commission to study the situation and report back to Congress. What Reagan's Gold Commission reported back to Congress in 1982 was the following shocking revelation concerning gold. The U.S. Treasury owned no gold at all. All the gold that was left in Fort Knox was now owned by the Federal Reserve, a group of private bankers, as collateral against the national debt. The truth of the matter is that never before has so much money been stolen from the hands of the general public and put into the hands of a small group of private investors, the money changers.
The money changers. That was the great Bill Still from his documentary, The Money Changers, a must-see. Now, Trump said this on Air Force One. If the gold isn't there, we will be very upset. After February 25th of 2025, he never mentioned it again. That timeline indicates a classified briefing. Trump was either shown the vault's truth or warned that its exposure would spark economic collapse.
Fort Knox. We're going to go into Fort Knox to make sure the gold is there.
Are they going to?
You know that we're going to go into Fort Knox. Do you know about that?
Sir,
That was a bad bump.
are they going to eliminate more national security positions, civilians there?
We'll see what happens. But one of the things we do want to look, I mean, we hope everything's fine with Fort Knox, but we're going to go to Fort Knox, the fabled Fort Knox, to make sure the gold is there.
Where would the gold have gone?
If the gold isn't there, we're going to be very upset. We're going to go into Fort Knox.
We're going to be very upset. On April 6th, Elon Musk proposed live streaming a Fort Knox audit on Fox Business. It was bold. And then he went dark. No tweets, no interviews, and the silence is deliberate. Musk doesn't fear controversy, but he knows Fort Knox is surrounded by powerful gatekeepers.
It's up to the president. Fort Knox. Oh, Fort Knox. Oh, yeah, right. Oh, yeah. Well, that's up to the president, of course. But I think it would be, I think it would be awesome to live stream Fort Knox. You know, I mean, that would be really fun. And after all, it is actually the gold of the American people. So the American people should, it seems to me, have a right to see their gold. You know, hopefully it looks really cool. You know, you open the doors, like, is it there? Like, is that really gold? Let's check. You know, so maybe it'll be really interesting. I'm all for it. The president says he's interested in doing it, so hopefully that happens.
Fort Knox. Hopefully it happens. Well, now they're silent. Steve Mnuchin visited Fort Knox in 2017, the first Treasury Secretary in nearly 70 years to do so, but he didn't conduct an audit. He saw a few bars, posed for some press photos, and left. That visit was staged to calm suspicion, not resolve it. Here's some of the stills from that moment. Now, keep in mind, this is 2017, and we have black and white photos. Like, you guys couldn't do better? You couldn't find a good camera that produced Color photography, very suspicious. And we have Mr. Turtle himself, Mitch McConnell, signing his name. He was there. Here's Mnuchin signing his name. There must be a name board there for everyone who's allowed to go in. And then we have this picture of them both holding a gold bar together. Now, the U.S. Treasury claims they do annual audits, but these checks are internal. No press, no video, no oversight. They expect Americans to believe the vaults are full based solely on their word, without evidence or outside verification. In 1971, Nixon severed the dollar from gold, ending the convertibility era. This allowed gold to vanish from economic accountability, and once the dollar wasn't backed by Fort Knox, officials no longer had to prove anything was really in there.
In the best interest, I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets, except in amounts and conditions determined to be in the interest of monetary stability and in the best interest of the United States. In full cooperation with the International Monetary Fund and those who trade with us, we will press for the necessary reforms to set up an urgently needed new international monetary system. Stability and equal treatment is in everybody's best interest. I am determined that the American dollar must never again be a hostage in the hands of international speculators. I'm taking one further step to protect the dollar, to improve our balance of payments, and to increase jobs for Americans. As a temporary measure, I am today imposing an additional tax of 10% on goods imported into the United States. This is a better solution for international trade than direct controls on the amount of imports.
Even Nixon loved tariffs, apparently.
This import tax is a temporary action. It isn't directed against any other country. It's an action to make certain that American products will not be at a disadvantage because of unfair exchange rates. When the unfair treatment is ended, the import tax will end as well.
And Donald Trump is pouring gasoline on that little fire. Now, Fort Knox has 22-ton vault doors, blast-resistant walls, and the most secure perimeter in America. But that security is not to keep people out, it's to keep secrets in. This is not a defense system. It's a containment strategy for silence. In 2010, the Fed admitted to conducting gold swaps with foreign central banks. That means U.S. gold left the country under secret agreements. There's no complete list of how much was returned or how much was lost in transit. And did you hear about this? 2012, Germany asked for its gold back. It took 7 years to repatriate it. The delay triggered global suspicion that the gold was actually missing. If gold can vanish from the Fed's vaults, Fort Knox is not immune. Our gold may already be gone. 7 years to return the gold? That's ridiculous. Some former DOD insiders claim that Fort Knox bars may be chemically corroded. Exposure to extreme vault humidity, radiation, or storage mishandling could have damaged the gold beyond resale. No one audits the integrity because it's safer not to know. After March of 2025, not one official, including Trump or Musk, mentioned Fort Knox again. That was not coincidence. They were silenced. This is not about optics. It's about what a real audit might reveal. National insolvency on an unimaginable scale. Silenced. They're not even talking about it. Fort Knox holds gold that was seized from citizens, stored under military protection, and never audited publicly. The American people are locked out of their own vault. The structure may still stand, but what it contains is now classified currency fiction. Yeah, our gold, police line, do not cross. So now it is time. Tag your senator, tag Trump, tag Musk, ask them where is the gold. No more secrecy, no more myths. Fort Knox is a vault built on silence, and the American people deserve the truth. So follow the Next News Network because the audit begins here. So if you got value from this report, tap subscribe. It's time for my final thought. Now, this Fort Knox cover-up should terrify every American who owns a dollar. We're talking about nearly $1 trillion in gold that nobody's verified in half a century. Trump went from demanding transparency to total silence. Musk went from live stream promises to radio silence, and that tells you everything. When senators with nuclear clearance can't inspect our own gold reserves, when presidents suddenly stop asking questions, when the world's boldest billionaire backs down, you know the truth is catastrophic. Either the gold is gone, corrupted, or leveraged in ways that would collapse the global economy if exposed. So here's my question to you. Do you believe there's any gold left in Fort Knox? Simple. Yes or no? Drop it in the comments right now. And this is why you need to protect yourself. Don't wait for government permission to secure your wealth. And hey, if you want to support the show that asks the hard questions, check out our merch shop link below. Real news for real patriots. Okay, before we get to the answer, I got a message from my father, and he just said, because he's watching right now, he said, tell them I'm grateful for their prayers. Alex Jones has been a great influence for my son, Gary. Here's $20. Who will match Gary's dad for Alex? So my dad just put $20 in the jar. Let's make sure wow, $20 from Pops. Thank you, Dad. $20. Who's going to match my dad? And he says, tell them their prayers are well taken and appreciated. I need them. Tell them that I've been blessed because I have a great son. Gary put 20 in for me and Alex. And he said, I said, I will. And he said, thank you. He says, all my friends in Cape Coral love your show, and I get to brag about it all the time, and they know it. Hey, did I tell you my son is a press correspondent in the White House? Hey, what does your son do? Ha, ha, ha. They love you. That's what my dad just said. Beautiful, man. I love my dad. I love him so much. Thanks, Pops. And then we have this, let's see. Morgan, you did that, and then the villain dropped $2, says Alex Jones jar needs to be bigger. Okay, here's $2 from villain. He wants me to get a bigger jar. Okay, this is getting interesting here. And then we got Duty to Rebel. Our ears and hearts are yours, dropping $5 there. Okay, here's 5 from Duty to Rebel. And we'll put that in the jar. Wow, the jar's getting fat tonight. This is awesome. I knew this jar was missing something, and I'm glad that we went ahead and made this little thing here. Yeah. And then Bruce Payette. Oh, no, and Villain dropped another 2. Okay, all right. We're going to do that. Holy cow, Bruce just dropped 20 also. This is getting out of hand, guys. And my producers keep telling me just take the lid off. Okay, fine. I'll take the lid off. All right. Okay. All right. There's $2 from Villain. He says Gary Franchi is the top reporter on YouTube. Bruce dropping 20. Thank you, Bruce. Cool. Okay, here's 20 from Bruce. Wow, and then 20 from Tony. All this cash. All right, here's 20 and 20. Here you go. Love you, Gary. Bringing that super chats, making them real. Okay, let's keep going. I know you guys want to know the answer to that trivia question. You guys are dying to know. I'm going to tell you right now what it is. Let's show it up. Here it is. Trivia answer. 1974, the last public inspection of Fort Knox included how many members of Congress? The answer is C. Only 6 House members and 1 senator. The 1974 inspection included just 7 members of Congress, a pathetically small group for America's entire gold reserve verification. And 6 House members, you guys got it right. C in the chat. 44% of y'all said that. How cool. You guys are smart. I have the smartest viewers on the internet watching this show. Okay, so we've got another question. And then we're going to jump to our next topic. Do you guys like these trivias? Do you like the trivias, guys? What, Brian? Okay, Brian said 1 second. Okay, so we're going to get that question up on the screen for you in a moment here. It is a late night at the Next News Network, burning the midnight oil. Thank you for tuning in. There are tens of thousands of people watching on X right now, so make sure you repost this feed as you're watching. Thank you for scrolling past. Don't just scroll past. Stick around. This show is for you. Hit repost right now. Let's make this thing at the top of everybody's news feed on X right now. Okay, so here is the next question. Okay, and then Deborah. Okay, Deborah. All right, yes, thank you. Sweet. All right, Deborah's here. She just dropped 20, and she says, it's been a while since I've been on. I've been watching my grandchildren. My son-in-law has cancer, so I'm not on much lately, but praying I will be on more soon. I'm matching your dad. Well, thank you. And we will be praying for your family as well, as everyone is also praying for my father. Thank you. Okay, so here's a trivia question. In 2017, at what age did Emmanuel Macron become France's youngest president, having met his future wife, Brigitte, when he was just 15 years old? Okay, was it A, 35, B, 37, C, 39, or D, 41 years old? Answer in the poll question in the chat room, or you guys, if I want to put the lid on, I'll leave the lid on. Okay, $50 just came in from Alice. Love the trivia, she says. Yeah, I felt like the show needed something more, and we decided, thank you so much for that, $50 right here. And we decided to introduce like a topic in the beginning of the show, like this day in history, and like try to find a day, something to happen on this day in history, and then tie that to the topic of the show. So anyway, that is something that we just started to do. So I hope you like it. Oh, you guys wanted to see a Trump dance already. Is that where we're going with this tonight? Yeah, it's that late. Okay, let's get into our next topic. World leaders get into heated arguments all the time, but what happened on that tarmac in Vietnam crosses every line of diplomatic protocol. The French president's own wife hauled off and smacked him in the face, not behind closed doors, not in private, but right there with cameras rolling. And the French government's response? First deny it happened, then claim it was fake, then finally admit it was real, but call it a joke. That's not how you handle a joke. That's how you handle a crisis. What really triggered Brigitte Macron to assault her husband in front of the world? And why are international leaders suddenly taking sides? Well, stay tuned. And speaking of visible signs of stress and aging, like what we saw on Macron's face, collagen depletion affects us all. By our 40s, collagen drops significantly, causing wrinkles, sagging skin, and joint problems. And that's why I use ageless multi-collagen in my protein shakes. 5 types of collagen from 4 premium sources, hydrolyzed for easy absorption, no clumping, no taste, just smooth blending into your morning routine. No GMOs, RFK Jr. loves it, no artificial ingredients, or no hormones. Every order even helps hungry children get fed at the website nokidhungry.org. Now, get 51% off, free shipping, and a 60-day guarantee at healthwithgary.com. Plus, receive the 14 foods for amazing skin. I mean, look at how beautiful my skin is. Isn't it beautiful? Just go to healthwithgary.com. It's linked down in the description today. Okay, now, the footage you are about to see has rocked international diplomatic circles. This is the moment that the French president, Emmanuel Macron, stepped off his plane in Vietnam for crucial trade negotiations. Now, of course, as soon as that door opened, he was physically assaulted by his own wife, Brigitte, in full view of the world's media. Here's the moment. There it is. Boom! Oh, yeah. Slow-mo. Ooh! Look at, he looks right there at the camera. He sees it happening. Hi. The door open again. Boom, there it is. Right in the face. The slap heard round the world. Look at the pilots checking it out, what's going on. And here's the awkward moment. He steps out. He brings his arm to her, thinking that she's going to take his arm. And she's like, hell no, I ain't touching you. With her big, manly, broad shoulders. Yeah, there you have it. Now, that wasn't a playful tap. That was a full force slap that left Macron visibly shaken and rubbing his face. And when confronted about this shocking display of domestic violence, Macron tried to downplay it. Yeah, when he was on Sky News, listen to how he attempts to spin this assault as somehow normal behavior between couples. Watch.
Nous sommes en train de nous chamailler et plutôt de plaisanter avec mon épouse.
We were squabbling and I was joking with my wife, and I'm surprised by it. And it becomes some sort of geoplanetary catastrophe.
Catastrophe géoplanétaire, donc faut que tout le monde se calme.
Everybody needs to calm down and should really focus on actual news.
A geoplanetary catastrophe, right? He's mocking legitimate concerns about violence while admitting that they were fighting on camera. Now, the reaction from American media has been explosive. Watch how the hosts of the Patrick Bet-David podcast break down not just the slap itself, but the deeply troubling power dynamic in the Macron marriage. Remember, she was his teacher when he was just 15 years old. Watch.
We all fight. You know, we all have issues with our spouses and things happen. But I swear to God, if your wife smacked you upside the head the way Macron's husband and Macron's wife hit him, this is inappropriate. And if he's watching this, this is very inappropriate. You don't behave like this. When the world is watching, watch this here. Watch this here what happened. The best part about this is how many people have made spoofs of this with blonde hair, with wigs being thrown, all this other stuff. Rob, go and watch this clip. Watch this clip here. Go for it.
Oh. Hey, everyone. Oh, is this slow motion? Is this slow motion?
Wait, you opened the door too early.
Oh, two hands. Hi, everybody. Hey, what you doing?
Wow.
Look, he's rubbing his face. And then look at this.
Does he walk? Does she walk? Yeah.
Yeah. Look at those shoulders, bro. Look at that guy. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. Bro.
If I was Macron, I would have kicked him in the nuts.
What was that, though? What do you think happened there, Vinny?
I mean,
do you think it's just a fight between a couple? You think that's all that was? Like, what happened there?
I mean,
what did they say, Rob? What has been said? The feedback on what happened there?
Well, what they said. Well, Macron brushed it off, and he said that he was joking around with his wife, and he said people were overreacting, calling it geoplanetary catastrophe. And by the way, his team claimed initially that the video was fake. Did you guys know that? Just like CNN with deep fakes with Joe Biden falling over the place. But then he admitted it was real but harmless. And Brigitte didn't take his arm afterwards, like you guys saw, walking all stiff. But I mean, guys, let's remember. Are you going to believe anything that these people say? Be honest with yourself. Because if allegedly all the reports, especially with everything that we've heard, which has ruined them, they met when he was 15 and she was 40 years old. Okay, I think that she has been abusing him his entire freaking life since he was underage.
Now, they just nailed it. If roles were reversed, this would be front page news about domestic abuse. Dana Loesch, she went even deeper into the disturbing history of this relationship. Here's her analysis of how Brigitte's behavior reveals who really controls the marriage, and it started when Macron was a minor in her classroom. Watch.
It's weird.
That's some uncomfortable math.
That was in high school. They met in high school. Now, reverse the sexes for a moment. This is why I bring this up. She also wears the wrong shade of foundation for her skin tone. She looks orange and her ears look pale. You can't do that. You can't, especially when, it's like a warm tone and you have a cool blonde. Why are you doing this? Sorry, I just had to do it. They married in 2007. And I don't know. I'm just analyzing all of this stuff. I feel like she's the power in this relationship. Well, I mean, that's her daughter's classmate. And she was 40, he was 15. And his parents, Emmanuel Macron's parents, thought he was seeing Brigitte Macron's daughter. And then when they found out that he actually had hots for teacher, they sent him to a boarding school. So what that suggests to me is it kind of suggests there was something happening in school. That's what I think. They've never said as much, but it does definitely raise some issues there. And they've done a couple of interviews about it. They've been very tight with how much information that they give out, but I mean, I don't know. So they ended up getting married, and but my whole point in bringing that up is to see her shove him in the face like that, even if they were I don't know. To me, that doesn't look like joking around. That looks like her being very forceful and bossy.
I got it bad, got it bad, got it bad. I'm a hot for teacher, right? Who could ever forget that Van Halen song? But, the control and abuse patterns are undeniable. This was not their first violent encounter, just the first one caught on camera. Even mainstream media couldn't ignore the story. CBS Mornings tried to laugh it off, but watch how uncomfortable they become when discussing the reality of what happened. Watch.
Just not a catastrophe.
You got shoved in the face.
No, by your wife.
By your wife.
Caught you in a moment that clearly Mrs. Macron was not happy with Mr. Macron.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think
for
this is why
whatever
you should not marry your high school teacher. I mean, I don't know. Something about that, like maybe who knows? What do you guys say?
Clearly there's something
going on.
Somebody.
Lavash. I'll leave that one alone.
Somebody.
Oh, yeah, but you're ready to eat a guac. Or whatever that thing was. Ready to eat one of those things. But Vlad, you just...
No,
you're right. Here's a line, and you just stepped right over. No, you're right, Vlad,
But they shouldn't say that it wasn't real, number one, or that it was just a joke. That is not a joke you do.
Right.
Shoving somebody in the face.
And we all saw it.
Notice how quickly they pivot away from the teacher-student relationship? They know this story goes deeper than just one slap. Former White House press secretary Sean Spicer, who I ran into at the White House a couple weeks ago, he met the Macrons during official visits. He offered this sobering perspective on Sky News Australia about the serious implications of this public assault. Watch.
Joining me to discuss foreign affairs is Sean Spicer, the first White House spokesman of President Donald Trump. Sean Spicer, great to see you. Look, I am going to get onto American politics, of course, but I just can't resist asking you because you were there at the White House when Macron and his wife paid Trump a visit years ago. You saw the couple again in a visit to Brussels, I believe, about 8 years ago. Looking now at Brigitte Macron pushing or hitting or punching her husband in the face, what do you make of it?
Well, I'm glad I was nice to her. We laugh, Andrew, and I think that's kind of been the general reaction. But there is a real seriousness to this for all of the talk that we've had over the past few years about domestic violence. And it clearly goes both ways. And I know that, there's a lot of jokes to be had at Macron's expense, but there is a serious aspect to this that I don't think should be overlooked. And I know even when their initial response, they tried to initially deny this. But the tape was so clear as to what was going on.
Now, Spicer's right. If we're serious about domestic violence, it can't be a joke when it happens to men. The hosts over at GB News, Great Britain News, they couldn't hide their shock at Brigitte's brazen attack. Watch their real-time reactions as they process what this means for France's international standing. Watch.
Man, she's not a stupid woman. She would have been very aware that door was opening, the cameras would be pointed on them. What do you think's going on there?
Well, I think it's fair to say that, look, again, Macron in France, I think Madame Brigitte is also finally had enough of Macron being president for so long. He's basically France's Trudeau. I mean, this is obviously very embarrassing for the French president.
What on earth is she thinking? Actually, I'm just digesting this in real time now. This is one of the most bizarre clips I think I've ever seen.
But you know
in my life.
Have you ever been in one of them situations? Because he's walking past her, it seems, from where that hand's come from. They've been bickering. And you know when someone gives a little snide remark as they go past, and she's obviously seen red and gone, "Oi, who do you think you're talking to?" He's obviously, well, for me, he's probably said something that's wound her up.
Well, and by the way, if my wife put a hand on my face, I wouldn't be with her. That'd be it.
Well, I mean,
there's no place for, I don't care if it's a woman or a man hitting me in the face. That's it.
I mean, joking aside, I mean, slapping your other half, be they male or female or whatever, is not a good thing to do, by the way. Just putting that out there because...
I think it's awful.
Yeah.
So who's the boss? That's the question everyone's asking after witnessing this emasculation in public humiliation. In this final clip from GB News, the panel discusses how this violence reflects the bizarre power dynamic that's defined the Macron marriage from the beginning. When a 40-year-old teacher pursues her 15-year-old student. Watch.
Well, I have to say, you're right to rebuke us for laughing, because I can't think of any other marriage of friends I know that would endure either side punching the other in the or hitting each other in the face like that. I mean, it's just so extraordinary. And for this to be the president and his wife, it really makes people look at their really quite unique, bizarre, some might call it, relationship from way back when, and wonder who's the boss.
She was his teacher. This wasn't a tap on the shoulder or a light touch. This was truly a smack. And I will give Macron credit for how he responded to it, because I think the other thing that I thought to myself is that these folks have been in the public eye for quite some time. They're at the top of that stair off of the airplane, and she has to know that the cameras are on them. For her to actually know that this moment was going to be on film really kind of concerns me.
Well, even if they thought it wasn't going to be on film, that she wasn't standing in the doorway herself, there were people in the plane, and for her to treat him like that, it's just, I've never seen anything like it.
I think the word you're looking for is emasculating.
I think that's a pretty good word.
Yeah. Now, just a quick correction. That was actually Sky News Australia, not GB News. But emasculating is exactly the right word for what the world witnessed on the tarmac. So if you got value from this report, tap subscribe. It's time for my final thought. Now, this isn't just about one slap on the tarmac. This is about a leader of a nuclear power being physically dominated by his wife in front of the entire world. When Brigitte Macron struck her husband, she didn't just hit him. She hit France's credibility on the global stage. So think about this. Putin watched that footage. Xi Jinping watched it. Every world leader saw France's president get bitch slapped on the world stage. So how can Macron negotiate trade deals or command respect when everybody knows his wife beats him in public? Now, this relationship started when she was his teacher and he was 15. I mean, the power dynamic was corrupted from day one. So here's my question for you. Should world leaders who can't control their own households be trusted to lead nations? Simple yes or no. Let me know in the comments. I mean, France deserves better. And if you think America deserves better media, support us. Check out our Next News merch shop. It's linked down below. Okay, let's see what we got here. Tony has gifted one membership to Rachel Laurent and Nettie Stanford became a member. Welcome to the family. Thank you, Tony, for that gift as well. Okay, so I know you guys are dying to find out the answer to that trivia question. Well, let's find out. You guys said 35 years old, 45%. Let's see what the answer was. In 2017, at what age did Emmanuel Macron become France's youngest president, having met his future wife Brigitte when he was 15? The answer is C, 39 years old. You guys got it wrong. You guys said A, 45%. The real answer is C. And Brian, you can cue the wah, 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 wah. I think you have it, right? Maybe you do. I don't know. So the answer is C, 39 years old. Macron became France's youngest president at 39, carrying a relationship that began when he was a 15-year-old student. Yeah, not creepy at all. Okay, now we're going to move on to our next topic of the evening. But before we do, our trivia question that is related to the topic. Bring it right up here for you. This is, in 1636, Harvard was founded with how many students in its first class? Is the answer A, 9 students, B, 27 students, C, 52 students, or D, 103 students? We're going to put that poll up in the chat room in just a moment. You can answer in real time, or you can simply just tap in the comments or in the chat room, or even reply in the X feed. We got tens of thousands of people tuning in on X. Welcome to the family. Welcome to the Next News Network. You're watching the Raw Feed. I'm Gary Franchi. We are live, in fact, and we'd love it if you just hit that repost and push this out to all of your followers. Now, let's get into what is going on at Harvard. Harvard University has survived wars, depressions, and political upheavals for nearly 400 years. But what's happening right now might finally bring America's most elite institution to its knees. President Trump has just unleashed the nuclear option, freezing billions in federal funding, banning all foreign admissions, and ordering the immediate deportation of over 6,000 international students. Harvard is fighting back with lawsuits and constitutional arguments, but Donald Trump is not backing down. He is demanding answers about why 31% of Harvard students are foreign nationals while qualified Americans get rejection letters. It's not about just one university. This is about who controls American education and whether our tax dollars should fund schools that put foreign interests first. So keep watching, because just like Harvard's putting foreign interests before Americans, our food supply faces the same threat. Grocery bills are up 30 to 40% thanks to Joe Biden. Donald Trump's doing something to try to fix that. But the real crisis is our collapsing bee population, essential for pollinating the crops that feed America. Patriot Bee Best is fighting back, restoring American bee habitats and supporting local beekeepers who protect our food sovereignty. This veteran-owned movement educates patriots and funds real restoration projects. So you can subscribe, patriotbeebest.com is the website. Use promo code NEXTNEWS for 25% off of your monthly contribution. You'll receive the Patriot Bee Digest with actionable information to protect our food supply. So visit patriotbeebest.com. Protect the bees and preserve the republic. Now, President Trump, he just dropped a truth bomb about Harvard that the establishment does not want you to hear. On the tarmac in New Jersey, he laid out exactly why American taxpayers should stop funding a university that puts foreign students ahead of our own kids. Watch.
Look, part of the problem with Harvard is that there are about 31%, almost 31% of foreigners coming to Harvard. We give them billions of dollars, which is ridiculous. We do grants, which we're probably not going to be doing much grants anymore to Harvard. But they're 31%, but they refuse to tell us who the people are. We want to know who the people. Now, a lot of the foreign students we wouldn't have a problem with. I'm not going to have a problem with foreign students, but it shouldn't be 31%. It's too much, because we have Americans that want to go there and to other places, and they can't go there because you have 31% foreign. Now, no foreign government contributes money to Harvard. We do. So why are they doing so many? Number one. Number two, we want a list of those foreign students, and we'll find out whether or not they're okay. Many will be okay, I assume. And I assume with Harvard, many will be bad. And then the other thing is they're very anti-Semitic. Everybody knows they're anti-Semitic, and that's got to stop immediately.
31% foreign students, while Americans can't get in, and they won't even tell us who those people are. The president didn't stop there. In the Oval Office, he revealed the shocking financial reality of Harvard's relationship with taxpayer money while they sit on a massive endowment that dwarfs most countries' budgets. Watch.
Are you considering stopping other universities besides Harvard from accepting foreign
Well, we're
students?
taking a look at a lot of things. And as you know, billions of dollars has been paid to Harvard. How ridiculous is that? Billions. And they have $52 billion as an endowment. They have $52 billion. And This country is paying billions and billions of dollars and then gives student loans and they have to pay back the loans. So Harvard's going to have to change its ways.
Change its ways. $52 billion endowment, yet they still take billions from hardworking Americans. That is the definition of greed. Now, Dr. Thomas Gift from the University College of London explained to Sky News exactly what's at stake here. It's not just about money, it's about the fundamental nature of American higher education and who it's supposed to serve. Watch.
Harvard is a private university, of course, so it operates quite a bit differently than public universities by and large in the UK. It's about freedom of speech, it's about academic sort of integrity, and it's the ability of a private institution to host the kind of students that it wants and to do the kinds of things in the classroom that it wants. And so this is really, I think, core. It's foundational to what makes a university, and that's why this has become such a big story.
What do you think is going to happen? Do you think those 7,000 students are going to have to find themselves somewhere else to go?
I certainly hope that that's not the case. For all these students who have worked so hard to get into an institution like Harvard, it would be very sad if that were to happen. My guess is that probably other comparable institutions in the Ivy League, as well as outside of it, will try to make accommodations for these students and maybe allow them to be part of their incoming classes. But for many of these students, they'll probably never get to the United States. I mean, there's so much controversy right now about visas, getting international student visas. It's become almost impossible. And so it's hard to know what is next. But I do think that this conflict between the Trump administration and Harvard is certainly not over, again, because I think the Trump administration views this as a political winner.
It's not over indeed. 7,000 students facing deportation, and Harvard is scrambling to protect foreign nationals instead of American interests. Now, the human impact of Trump's order is staggering. Watch as Dr. Gift breaks down the numbers and explains why other Ivy League schools are now panicking about their own foreign student populations. Watch.
The ban on foreign students, I mean, there are thousands of students, and we understand about 7,000 of the student body there on some kind of visa, not just existing students, but also those with offers to attend Harvard. I mean, what happens? What happens now for them? Do you know?
Well, you're absolutely right that more than a quarter of the student body at Harvard are international students. So it comprises a very significant part of the enrollment. I actually teach a summer class every year at Harvard. I'm about to start doing that in July, despite being full-time at UCL. I would say about 4 out of every 5 students in that class, which is about globalization, are international students. So I think there's going to be a request for an injunction, and the administration is going to ask that the courts essentially block this movement. But in the long term, it's really hard to say whether this is going to pass constitutional muster. If it does, and the administration is successful at banning international students, that would just be a gut punch to so many who have worked so hard to attend Harvard, both the students who are currently there as well as those who are looking to matriculate just this fall. So it, again, very, very unprecedented. It's sad. It's sad for these students.
Oh, he's crying. Cry me a river, buddy. All right? We got to set our priorities straight on where our tax money goes. And they've got a hell of a lot in that endowment. 4 out of 5 students in some Harvard classes are international. That's not an American university anymore. That's a global institution funded by U.S. taxpayers. Sky News correspondent Samantha Washington laid out the escalating battle between Trump and Harvard, including the constitutional showdown that's brewing. This timeline shows how we got to the breaking point. Watch.
Harvard University in the United States is suing the American government over a ban that it wants to impose on enrolling foreign students. It follows months of wrangling between the White House and the prestigious university. The latest row between the Trump administration and Harvard began back in January. Just 9 days after his inauguration, Donald Trump signed an executive order calling for the government to crack down on anti-Semitism. Then in March, 60 universities under investigation for anti-Semitism were sent letters by the Education Department. They were threatened with potential enforcement action if they failed to protect Jewish students. Harvard, incidentally, was number 13 on that list. The government then wrote to the university a month later, demanding a list of reforms and warning it to comply if it wanted to maintain its financial relationship with the government. The government then announced a freeze on $2.2 billion worth of funding to the university after its president, Alan Garber, rejected the president's demands. The university then sued the Trump administration, describing the move as unconstitutional and illegal.
From anti-Semitism investigation to frozen funding to deportation orders, Trump is systematically dismantling Harvard's grip on your money, taxpayer money. So here's some more explosive news from Sky, showing how Harvard's president tried to dodge the real issues when confronted about the university's failures to protect Jewish students while harboring potential security threats. Watch.
The Education Department then announced that Harvard would not receive any new research grants from the government until it met its demands. An additional $450 million worth of grants to Harvard was stopped on top of the freeze in funding. And then this week, a ban on Harvard's ability to enroll students from overseas was announced. For more, we can now speak to Dr. Thomas Gift, Director of the Centre of US Politics at University College London. Really good to see you this afternoon. We'll just step back for a moment. I mean, have you ever seen anything like this?
Thanks so much for having me, Sam. It's great to be with you. Really, I haven't. And I think that that's a common trend with the Trump administration, which is that every action seems to be more unprecedented than the last. But for a U.S. administration to go after, single out a university like Harvard, one of the best and most prestigious brands in American higher education, is really quite something. And there is really no parallel.
No, that was actually Dr. Giff, and you heard him. He nailed it. Trump's using Harvard as an example because taking down the biggest name sends the strongest message. And the political genius of Trump's strategy becomes crystal clear in this analysis. By targeting Harvard specifically, he is forcing every university in America to choose between foreign money and American values. Watch.
I think that Trump is singling out Harvard precisely because it is so high profile and so prominent. And so it wants to make Harvard an example. If he were to go after sort of lesser known schools, it would have less of an impact. And make no mistake about it, this is highly political. Donald Trump thinks that, attacking Harvard plays well both with the MAGA base and maybe even to an extent with the public writ large. He's kind of cast the Harvard as this once great institution that's been turned into a hotbed of anti-American, anti-Semitism, pro-terrorist agitators. I don't think any of that is true. I mean, there's certainly problems that Harvard has had with anti-Semitism, and in fact, they just released a report, which I think was good news. But Trump is hugely characterizing Harvard as something that it is not, and it's trying to take advantage of that politically.
Yeah. Cast Harvard as a hotbed of anti-American pro-terrorist agitators, and the evidence keeps proving Trump right. NBC News captured the personal stories behind the deportations, including Harvard student Carl Molden from Austria, who doesn't know if he'll ever be able to return to finish his degree. Now, this is the human cost of Harvard's anti-American policies. So if there's any institution to blame, don't point the finger at Donald Trump. Point the finger at Harvard. Watch.
Harvard calling the government's action unlawful, adding, "We are fully committed to maintaining Harvard's ability to host our international students and scholars."
It's saddening and it's stressful.
Carl Molden is a Harvard student from Austria studying government.
Do you think you'll be back at Harvard in the fall? It's hard to make a call, I hope. I'm uncertain. I think with this administration, anything can happen.
In April, the administration froze more than $2 billion in federal grants to Harvard over what the White House said were concerns about unchecked anti-Semitism on campus and demands to change hiring and admissions processes. The university's president pressed by Lester last month.
Is this really about anti-Semitism?
I would say that at Harvard, we have a real problem with anti-Semitism. We take it very seriously, and we're trying to address it.
Yeah, not seriously enough. Harvard chose foreign students over American kids, and now they're facing the consequences of that betrayal. In this final NBC segment, you're going to see Harvard scrambling to respond while the Trump administration demands full transparency about every foreign student's background, criminal history, and protest activities from the past 5 years. Watch.
We don't really see the relationship to research funding at Harvard and other universities. They are two different issues.
And Garrett Haig joining us now from the White House. And Garrett, the Trump administration is asking for Harvard student records.
That's right, Lester. DHS says the university now has 72 hours to turn over disciplinary, criminal, and protest records for all students over the last 5 years if they hope to see this order reverse. Harvard says it's working on guidance for its foreign students. Lester?
Garrett Haig, thank you. Thanks for watching. Stay updated about...
Yeah, thanks for watching. 72 hours to turn over records or lose everything. That is what accountability looks like. Now, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem delivered the administration's final warning to every university in America. Clean up your act or face the same fate as Harvard. Watch.
Tonight, the Trump administration escalating its battle with Harvard University, barring the school from enrolling foreign students and ordering the more than 6,700 currently enrolled to transfer or lose their legal status.
27% of their students are foreign students, and they will have to find some other university to go to, and hopefully they find one that cares about them and provides a safe environment.
The White House saying Harvard has become a, quote, hotbed of anti-American, anti-Semitic, pro-terrorist agitators, adding the university now must face the consequences of their actions.
This should be a warning to every other university to get your act together.
Get your act together. 27% foreign students, billions in taxpayer funding. The gravy train just hit a wall. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. It's time for my final thought. I know you guys love it. Harvard's day of reckoning has finally arrived. For decades, the so-called American institution has taken billions in taxpayer money while rejecting qualified American students in favor of foreign nationals that they refuse to identify. And Trump just called their bluff. So think about it. Your tax dollars fund a university where 31% of students aren't even American, where anti-Semitism runs rampant, where 4 out of 5 students in some classes are international. That is not education, that's replacement. And when Trump demanded a simple list of who these foreign students are, Harvard said no. So what are they hiding? So this battle is going to determine whether American universities serve American students or continue operating as global institutions on your dime, your freaking money. So here is my question. Should any university that takes taxpayer money, your money, be allowed to prioritize foreign students over Americans? Simple yes or no. Sound off in the comments. You want to support media that puts America first? Grab your Next News gear at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com, link down below. Okay, before we get to the answer, and I see you guys have voted A, 9 students, 51%. We're going to find out if you're right. I see that Granola Grin just put $2 in the Alex Jones was right jar. And with this comment, now let's see Big Mike put Barry in a chokehold. Ooh. Ooh. Yeah, $2. There you go. Thank you for that. Right there in the jar. Okay, so let's find out what the answer is, shall we? Let's jump to that. Let's see here. In 1636, Harvard was founded with how many students in its first class? The answer is A, 9 students. Harvard started with just 9 students in 1636, all American colonists, not a single foreign student among them. Okay. And you guys said, yeah, 50%. Y'all said 9. Second place B was 27 students. Are you guys searching? Are you guys like going on and searching up the answer? Is that how you're doing this? I don't know. I know you guys are smart, but maybe you guys are doing a little bit of cheating. I don't know. Okay, now we're going to go to our next topic, and before we do, I have a trivia question for you. In 2016, what percentage of young men young men age 18 to 29 voted for Donald Trump in his first presidential victory? Is it A, 28%, B, 36%, C, 42%, and D, 51%? No Googling the answer, okay? You can't do that. All right, let's get to our next topic, and then we'll get to the answer. $20 million. That's what Democrats are spending to figure out how to talk to young American men. They're calling it SAM, Speaking with American Men. SAM. And it's the most pathetic political science experiment that you've ever seen. They're actually infiltrating video games, studying viral syntax, and meeting at luxury hotels to decode why young men fled their party in droves. Excuse me. Meanwhile, these same young men are flocking to Trump, embracing traditional values and rejecting everything that the left stands for. The Democrat solution? Don't change their anti-male policies. Don't stop calling masculinity toxic. Just spend millions of dollars trying to trick men into voting for them again. This is desperation at its finest, and we're going to break it all down for you. And while the Democrats waste millions trying to win back young men, here's what really matters to guys taking charge of their lives, their health. Nearly half of American men suffer from high blood pressure, putting them at risk for heart disease and stroke. That's why I use GlycoBoost at boostwithgary.com, a doctor-formulated supplement with white mulberry leaf and cinnamon bark powder to naturally support blood pressure, cholesterol, and blood sugar. No prescriptions, no side effects, just natural ingredients that work. Get up to 40% off, free shipping, and a 60-day guarantee at boostwithgary.com. Take control of your health naturally. That's boostwithgary.com. It's linked in the description. Okay, so The Hill's Brianna Joy Gray and Robbie Sove just exposed the Democrats' desperate $20 million scheme to create what they're calling, ready for this, Blue Rogan, as in Joe Rogan. Yes, their laboratory-grown answer to losing young men to the right. Watch.
Can Democrats fix this problem by a strategic action plan costing millions and millions of dollars to grow in a laboratory Blue Rogan, Dem Rogan? I don't think so.
I think that they should avoid chasing the shiny new object, right? They tried that throughout Kamala's whole campaign, and it didn't really work. Even if the objects weren't new, they were like legendary stars that they brought to the table. These tactics don't work with like, hey, look at this. This is really popular. We're doing it now. I think the policy is really what matters. Talking back to those working class Americans that they lost. Somehow the Republican Party, the one to trickle down, became the working class party. And I don't know how we have these different conversations that 10 years ago we wouldn't have had. And I also think that Trump is an anomaly. So now that he can't run again in 4 years, we're going to have a different conversation around who the next two candidates are. And I think we might see a sway back to some normalcy of what the parties look like if both parties continue to fall in line, like if Trump pushes through his tax cuts, if Democrats get back to the source and do some of the things that Bernie Sanders is calling for, is to get back to the people that we represented back in the day. I think that some of those can shift, but they need to just focus on what policies they want to put forward and just think about what are we standing for in the midterms, what are we standing for in 2028. And the biggest problem to me with Democrats is that they complained throughout Trump's entire presidency. They complained about how bad it was, the end of democracy. They compared him several times to Hitler, but then the plan was mediocre at best. When it was time for Biden to run again, they made that decision. His team protected him in ways that we're understanding more now, put Kamala forward at the last minute. That wasn't a good strategy.
They can't buy authenticity in a lab. Young men see right through manufactured influencers and corporate messaging. Former Biden special assistant Megan Hayes appeared on MSDNC trying to defend the party's strategy. Watch her admit that Democrats have been hemorrhaging support for years, not just in one election cycle. Watch.
Megan, the Times also writes that Democrats have led, indeed, focus groups where voters are asked to name an animal that best describes the Democratic Party. One man said, a deer in headlights. You stand there and you see the car coming, but you're going to stand there and get hit with it anyway. Changing perception, obviously, it's not a 1 month thing. It's not even a 1 year job. But what can Democrats do? Because the midterms will be here before they know it.
Right. I mean, the Democrats didn't get into this place of one election cycle. It wasn't just 2024. This has been going on for many years. So I think it's going to take the Democrats time. But I do think that that Congress was very aligned on their messaging with the bill that was passed in the House. And I think that they are very aligned and they're out there and talking to their communities and their constituents. And I think they need to be aligned on that and continue to stay aligned on. They care about the economy. They care about keeping 14 million people with their health insurance, and the 18 million kids keep getting food. And I think that those are the things that the Democrats are aligned on. I think they need to continue to stay aligned on what's important to the American people and what's important to the moderates. And that is the economy. It's the cost of housing, the cost of education, the cost of groceries. Those are the things that impact everyday people. And, you know, you're totally right. No one is talking about Joe Biden and who knew what when. They're talking about how much it is to pay for groceries and how they're going to get their kids to school every day. So it's just, we need to be more aligned with where people are who are actually voting and not what the DC bubble is.
So she's talking about caring about the economy while her party destroyed it. No wonder young men aren't buying what they're selling. And CNN's coverage revealed the stunning details of this SAM initiative. Listen as they break down how Democrats plan to infiltrate gaming spaces and manufacture viral content to trick young men back into their coalition. Watch.
So we mentioned new voters, which is also young voters, another way to say that. And now I want to talk about men. And here's something from the New York Times. This is written by our friend of the show, Shane Goldmacher. The prospectus for one new $20 million effort obtained by the Times aims to reverse the erosion of Democratic support among young men, especially online. It is codenamed SAM, short for Speaking with American Men, a strategic plan, and promises investments to study the syntax, language, and content that gains attention and the virility in these spaces. It recommends buying advertisements in video games, among other things. So you're the man here. I will not mansplain you. All I will say is, duh.
Yeah, I know. Look, they should have probably recognized this a couple of cycles before when this trend was growing very apparent. This was a huge problem for them in the past election cycle, and they need to figure it out, because right now the Democratic message is really all over the place. What do they exactly stand for as they head into the midterm elections? But right now it's a hope, really, among the Democratic leaders that that voters will recoil what they view as overreach from the Trump administration. They will make the argument that they need to be a check on Trump's power and to use Trump's push to move ahead with this so-called big beautiful bill, which rail about the tax cuts and that do benefit wealthy taxpayers, also other taxpayers too, but that does have an impact for them, and the impact on lower income working class voters, the healthcare cuts that they can face. Can they make that effective argument to win back the majority? We'll see.
$20 million to study syntax and virality. They still don't understand that young men want respect, not manipulation. So here's some more analysis from The Hill showing why this cultural divide has become impossible for Democrats to bridge. Young men have created their own ecosystem of podcasts and gaming and entertainment that rejects leftist ideology entirely. Watch.
It's fairly obvious the variety of reasons that young men have shifted to the right. Those things that they're mentioning, pop culture, video games, etc., podcasts. It used to be the case that not everything in our lives was political. Sports isn't necessarily political, and not all entertainment is political. There's a political dimension to some of it, but not all of it. But in these times where everything is so political and so high stakes at the presidential election level, politics has really seeped into everything, and it's also felt where this is for. It's all consistent now. If you watch these things, you like these things, you participate in these things, these are your activities, then you are a Republican who likes Trump. If you like these things and you have these cultural preferences and you associate with these people and you live in these places, then you are a liberal Democrat who likes cultural progressivism. And there's less and less overlap. Didn't used to be the case. If you go back, 50 years, there were people who, voted for a local Republican but had mostly Democratic friends, and maybe they voted for John Kennedy for president because they liked how he looked on TV. There was, what I mean? It was back. It wasn't all
some nuance in voting.
It was right. It was more like you're part of a club, and that membership has all sorts of different cast of characters and different preferences. Now you're all getting this is everything. These are all the characteristics of these people, and these are all the characteristics of these people.
So politics has infected everything. And young men choose a side that doesn't hate them for being male. Political strategist Basil Smikle went on MSNBC and accidentally revealed the truth about how out of touch Democrats have become. Watch him admit that they're meeting in hotels instead of actual communities.
Because Democrats have been accused of looking and sounding too elitist. That's a problem. And the look, the reality is...
Yeah, you know what? Yeah. You know what strikes me? Yeah. Because if you talk to some of these folks, and I can just tell you anecdotally, but, you know, obviously there are lots of people doing focus groups on this, that these folks don't like Donald Trump. They don't want to vote for Donald Trump, and most of them won't vote for Donald Trump. But they don't have a darn good thing to say about the other side. Yeah. What do you do with that? When don't you start out ahead if they really dislike the other guys?
Well, you know, here's a good example. There's been a lot of conversation about what people knew about Joe Biden and when did they know it. To Megan's point, if you actually go into communities and talk to voters, they're not asking about Joe Biden. They're asking, what do we do now? Yeah. And if Democrats don't have an answer for that question, they're going to continue to lose support. Find answers, go into communities, actually amplify what neighborhood organizations, we talked in the last segment about violence disruptors. Talk to those folks because they're in these streets. There are really good examples of how people have taught each other, ministered to each other, clothed and fed each other, because particularly in the African-American community, we've always done that. So amplify those stories. But instead, you know, we're held up at hotels talking to each other.
Held up at hotels talking to each other. That's a perfect summary of Democrat strategy right there. And Megan Hayes returned to MSNBC to discuss the Democrats' anthropological approach to understanding young men. Her comments about studying voters like they're an alien species shows exactly why they're failing. Watch.
I want to bring in Megan Hayes, a former special assistant to President Biden, and Basil Smikle is back with me. You're both smiling. Donors and strategists, Megan, have been gathering at luxury hotels to discuss how to win back working class voters. The Times says these new projects can read like anthropological studies of people from faraway places. What do you see in here?
Well, it's great that we're being a little bit more introspective. That's always helpful. But I think that the Democrats have forgot that maybe we should just talk to people like people. We don't need to do studies on it. We don't need to meet at hotels. How about we just go to community meetings and meet people where they are on social media and their different forms and platforms that they are. But I think that the Democrats have forgot how to talk to normal people about things that are really important to them, like the economy. So it's I think, a really good lesson to learn, but I also think we just need to get back to basics.
Yeah, I think, Basil, another very informative little phrase, and you're the academic here, but when you're trying to figure out the syntax, language, and content, are you getting ahead?
Yeah, no. You're not. This is not, I really have no understanding what that is, because honestly, if somebody needed to come talk to me, just come talk to me. Actually, go find me and come and talk to me. Don't do it in a hotel. Don't study me like this is some academic exercise. That is exactly why we're not winning.
Don't study me like this is some academic exercise. Even their own strategists know this is insulting to voters. Representative Debbie Wasserman Schultz, she tried to deflect when asked about the party's image problem. Watch her dodge the question about why focus groups compare Democrats to scared animals. Watch.
I'm focused on the humans I represent, not, animal comparisons.
I will tell you, it was the voters who were making the comparison with animals, and this was a focus group. It wasn't the New York Times reporter coming up with these labels. This was a Democratic-led focus group to try to figure out perceptions of the parties.
Don, you said they were asked to compare the parties, so they were prompted to compare the parties to animals. That is ridiculous. I've watched a lot of focus groups, and I know that the people that I represent want me fighting for the humans, the families that I represent. They don't want Republicans transferring, more and more wealth to many more billionaires. They want to make sure that, like what Democrats did under Joe Biden, under a Democratic majority, we ensured that we cut taxes for the middle class, folks who put that money right back into the economy when they buy refrigerators with the windfall and other kinds of kinds of expenses. We made sure that we reduced prescription drug prices. We started to bring chip manufacturing back home. We passed the largest infrastructure and investment act in history, and now those jobs we're seeing come to fruition with rebuilding our infrastructure. That's what people want their government to do for them. They don't want a lawless dictator of a president who hires anti-Semites and who then acts like he's trying to fight to protect the Jewish community. The hypocrisy in this administration is appalling.
She can't even acknowledge that the problem exists. This is why young men are running away from Democrats at record speed. The New York Times bombshell report about Sam, also dissected on the Hill, and this segment reveals how Democrats plan to spend millions of dollars buying ads in video games to reach young male voters. Watch.
Well, a New York Times article is going viral on X for describing Democrats' plans to, you guessed it, find their own Joe Rogan.
The article is titled, 6 months later, Democrats are still searching for the path forward. The specific part of the article that grabbed many people's attention reads, quote, the prospectus for the one new $20 million effort obtained by the Times aims to reverse the erosion of Democratic support among young men, especially online. It is code-named SAM, for short, Speaking with American Men, a strategic plan, and promises the investment to study the syntax, language, and content that gains attention and virality in these spaces. It recommends buying advertisements in video games that Robbie just played this weekend, among other things.
Codename Sam, that's what it is. $20 million studying viral content. Sounds more like a CIA operation than political outreach. Tim Pool joined Bill Maher to discuss the real reason that young men are embracing conservatism and traditional values. And their analysis cuts through the noise to explain this massive generational shift. Watch.
Tim Pool joined Bill Maher's Club Random podcast this week. The two discussed why young men have shifted toward Christianity and are voting Republican. Let's listen.
One thing I think is true is that conservatives had more kids in the 2000s. I know a lot of people want to claim these ideological victories where they say, like, we've red-pilled people. And among Gen Z, irrespective of that, there's been a rightward ideological shift among men. And I think this has to do with contemporary politics, movies, games, culture, etc.
And also men feeling that they were targeted unfairly. There is a lot of toxicity in being maleness. Some of that we can't control.
So men feel targeted and attacked by the left, so they're finding meaning in faith and family and conservative values instead. Chris Jansing on MSNBC summed up the Democrats' 6-month search for answers after their November defeat. What you're about to see perfectly captures their confusion about losing the young male vote. Watch.
The midterms fast approaching and a full 6 months after November's electoral drubbing, the Democratic Party appears to still be in fact-finding mode. The New York Times reports that party donors and strategists have been gathering at luxury hotels to discuss how to win back working-class voters. And they're spending $20 million on an effort to try to figure out how to speak to young men. Quote, it is codenamed SAM, short for Speaking with American Men, a strategic plan, and promises investment to study the syntax, language, and content that gains attention and virality in these spaces.
6 months later, and they still need $20 million to figure out how to talk to half the population. Unbelievable. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. It's time for my final thought. $20 million to learn how to talk to men. That is not just pathetic, it is insulting. Democrats spent years calling masculinity toxic, attacking traditional values, and wondering why young men abandoned them. Now they want to infiltrate video games and study viral syntax, like men are some kind of alien species to be decoded. So here's the truth they'll never understand. Young men didn't leave the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party left them. These men want purpose, they want respect, and a future where working hard actually pays off. And they found that with Donald Trump. They found it in conservative values. They found it in communities that celebrate strength instead of apologizing for it. So the left can spend $100 million and it still won't manufacture authenticity. So here's my question for you. Can Democrats ever win back young men without changing their anti-male policies? Yes or no? Drop your answer in the comments. And you can support real journalism at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. It is linked in the description. All right, I know you're all waiting to find out the answer to our trivia question, but I do want to welcome, let's see, we have Craig, who has just gifted a membership to Rocky Shepherd. Welcome to the family. And did we say Misty Dawn? Yes, Misty Dawn, I think we acknowledged you previously, but yes, she has just become a member as well. Welcome to the family. We're at $155.99 in the Alex Jones Was Right jar. How cool is that tonight? You guys are opening your wallets and your hearts to the Next News Network. Now let's get to the answer to the question. And what was it? You guys said B, 36%. Well, Brian, cue it. That's the one. Brian must have fat fingered the button there. But yes, the answer is actually C, 42%. Trump captured 42% of young men in 2016. And that number has only grown as Democrats doubled down on anti-male rhetoric. All right, before we get to our next topic, yes, NPR is hanging out for dear life. Here is the trivia question we will give you the answer to after this segment. When was National Public Radio, NPR, established with a federal funding authorization? Was it A, 1965 during the Great Society programs? Was it B, 1967 with the Public Broadcasting Act? C, 1970 following Nixon's media reforms? Or D, 1973, after Watergate coverage? You can fill out the poll that is on the chat room. It'll be there in a second. And you can leave your answer in the comments or in the chat room, however you want to do it. And we'll get to the answer after this. NPR just made the most hypocritical legal argument in American history. They're suing President Trump, claiming that cutting their taxpayer funding violates the First Amendment. Let that sink in, right? A media organization that spent years promoting censorship, whose own CEO called free speech the #1 challenge to controlling information, now wants constitutional protection for their government paychecks. They believe that you should be forced to fund their propaganda whether you agree with it or not. Congressional Republicans are exposing their lies with brutal precision. The tweets are flying, the lawsuits are filed, and NPR is about to learn that free speech doesn't mean free money. We're unpacking it all, so stay with us, all right? Now, while NPR pushes propaganda that weakens American men, here's the truth they won't tell you. Something you eat every day is destroying your testosterone. It's not junk food or sugar. It's something marketed as healthy that's tanking your energy and your motivation. Sculpt Nation's Test Boost Max uses 8 natural ingredients to support healthy testosterone without prescriptions or synthetic hormones. Thousands of men are building muscle, burning fat, and reclaiming their drive naturally. And you can watch their free video exposing this testosterone-killing food and learn how to fight back by visiting sculptnation.com/NNN. It's linked down below for the truth the mainstream media won't share. No prescriptions, no BS, just results. All right, now let's get into it. We've got a bunch of tweets here we bookmarked just for you. Oh, yes, and they are fire. And I want to start with our own. Yeah, I posted this on April 19th. Defund NPR. Quote tweeting, fight with memes. The internet never forgets. They screenshotted an NPR post. A new poll finds 40% of respondents believe the baseless conspiracy theory that the coronavirus was created in a lab. There is zero evidence for this. Scientists say the virus was transmitted to humans from another species. Well, I hate to break it to you, NPR, but the truth has come out. You can just go to covid19.gov. What is the website? Yeah, I think that's what it is. But, yeah, NPR getting schooled, but we'll never forget. Representative Darrell Issa says it's time to end America's disastrous experiment with state-sponsored media. Defund NPR, PBS, Voice of America, and all the rest. Now, Lucius George, NPR wonders why we don't want to be funding them at gunpoint. Okay, here's 2013. I love these memes. 2013, maybe it's time to swap burgers for bugs, says the UN. We're going to put a little bit of that clown makeup on. At Bug Eating Festival, kids crunch down on the food of the future. Clown face, getting stronger. Your ancestors probably ate insects, so what's bugging you? Clown face gets stronger. And then 2023, this right-wing conspiracy theory about eating bugs is about as racist as you can think. Full clown makeup. You know, the NPR used to be more center, but that has shifted leftwards in recent years. Take a look at this graph, how NPR's all-size media bias rating has changed over time. Conservative, 2016, all the way through 2021. And all of a sudden, what happened here? 2022, boom, left. 2023, left. 2024, left. Yeah. But I think we have the answer to that. We're going to show you in a second. Jack Posobiec says NPR even refused to comment from itself. The CPB board shall cancel existing direct funding. Okay, he's showing an article here from NPR. NPR, an article on NPR, and at the bottom it says NPR did not immediately respond to requests for comments on the executive order. An NPR reporter could not get a response from NPR itself. Seems like you just walk right into the executive office and ask them the question, right? They're your bosses, but they're not going to give a comment? How ridiculous is that? Moving right along here, Eric Darty, NPR, 16 hours ago, NPR has just sued President Trump for revoking their federal funding, saying the action threatens the existence of the public radio system that millions of Americans across the country rely on. I don't know about you, but I think most people are getting their information from the interwebs these days, right? Apps on their phone. I honestly can't remember the last time I actually turned on a radio. Yeah. Doesn't really, I can't think about, what happened next. Oh, here's something from May from the White House. That Friday feeling when you end taxpayer subsidization of NPR and PBS. President Trump walking out to Marine One, photograph, black and white. Beautiful. Thomas Sowell quotes the NPR CEO. I've never seen any political bias. Oh, is that right? We're going to go to this committee hearing with Jim Jordan grilling the CEO of NPR. This is solid gold.
Former senior business editor for NPR. Former senior business editor for NPR.
How long do you work at NPR?
I believe he was there just over 25 years.
25 years? Award-winning journalist? Did he win any awards?
Our time to
Peabody Award? That's pretty important, isn't it?
That is, absolutely.
So pretty distinguished journalist, right?
Certainly.
And he wrote a long story about what you do at NPR. Is NPR biased?
Congressman, I have never seen any instance of political bias determining editorial decisions. No.
Well, Mr. Berliner, in his story last year, wrote, in the D.C. area, editorial positions at NPR, he said he found 87 registered Democrats, 0 Republicans. Is that accurate?
We do not track the numbers or the voter registration, but I find that concerning.
Award-winning journalist who worked 25 years at NPR, Mr. Berliner, was he lying when he wrote that?
I am not presuming such. I just we don't track that information about a journalist.
87 to 0, and you're not biased?
I think that is concerning if those numbers are accurate.
It's concerning. I mean, it wasn't 44-43. It wasn't 60-27. It wasn't 70-17. It wasn't even 80-7. It was 87 Democrats, 0 Republicans, and you say NPR is not biased. How about the big stories over the last few years? According to Mr. Berliner, again, he wrote on the Trump-Russia story, he wrote, at NPR, we hitched our wagon to Trump's most visible antagonist, Representative Adam Schiff. He said they interviewed him 25 times. Is that accurate?
I was not there at the time, but those numbers sound accurate. Yes.
Those sound accurate. But then he said when the Mueller report came out and Robert Mueller said he found no evidence of collusion, he said Russiagate faded from our programming. Is that accurate?
Again, I was not there at the time. I couldn't say.
You couldn't say?
I was not at NPR at the time.
You didn't prepare for that? You knew we were going to ask you about this guy, didn't you? It's come up like 6,000 times already in the hearing.
I just couldn't say whether it faded from our coverage, sir.
How about this story? October 2020, the New York Post had the Hunter Biden laptop story, and one of those editors, I guess one of those 87 Democrat editors, said this: we don't want to waste our time on stories that are not really stories. We don't want to waste the listeners' and readers' times on stories that are just pure distractions. Was that a pure distraction story?
Our current editorial leadership believes that that was a mistake, as do I.
Yeah, the whole country knows that was a mistake. Definitely impacted the election, or I think it certainly impacted the election. How about the COVID origin story? That's a pretty big story too, right? Mr. Berliner said, we became fervent members of the team natural origin, even declaring that the lab leak was debunked by scientists. Turns out, though, the lab leak is what most people think actually caused the COVID virus.
Sorry, is there a question there?
There is. You guys were 0 for 3 on the three of the biggest stories in the last 5 years. You guys were 0 for 3, and yet you maintain that NPR is not biased?
Congressman, I do not believe we are politically biased. No, we are a nonpartisan organization.
Nonpartisan organization.
Former
Oh, I laugh. It's hilarious. 13 hours ago, Timcast News, all NPR does is lie, while simultaneously hiding behind people that they prop up as experts. Let's hear what Timmy has to say.
Targeted race-based. NPR is fake news. It was remarkable. I was driving the other day in my car, and where were we? This is when we were in LA. I was driving around in LA, and I put NPR. I was a Waymo, by the way, no driver, crazy. Put on NPR, and they were just lying. And it was insane how they were lying. They were talking about South Africa genocide. And what I mean by lying is they weren't telling you the truth about what was going on in South Africa. What they were doing was presenting the news from the narrative of the right believes that white people are being systemically killed. It's not true. It's like, whoa, hold on. Like, report the news. South Africa passed land expropriation without compensation. There's been murders of white farmers where they've written on the wall, kill the Boer. Those things have happened, right? You can say that and then say, experts argue this is not a genocide because there's been targeted race-based killings. And the argument you can make is there are targeted race-based killings in the United States. That doesn't mean black people are being genocided either. They don't do that. They just lie. They bring in experts who are like, white people believe this lie. And then they play like this guy was Malema being like, we're the only country that didn't drive the colonizers from our shores. That shows that we're not genociding them. And I'm like, it's all lies, my friends.
All lies, and that's why they need to be defunded. 100%. Cat Turd with his hot take. PBS and NPR are Democrat propaganda fake news garbage. Gotta love a little cat turd in your life. Carrie Lake, she posted this. Our government needs to cut spending to survive. Through their biased coverage, PBS and NPR put themselves on the chopping block. If they're as popular as the people leading them say they are, they should have no issue having the public fund them instead of hardworking taxpayers. And we're not going to play that clip, but that is Carrie Lake breaking it down. Oh, and here's more from The Rabbit Hole, another X account that I follow. This is Catherine Marr, the NPR CEO. Listen to her directly.
Might have become, I think our reverence for the truth might have become a bit of a distraction that is preventing us from finding consensus and getting important things done. I think our
Did you hear that? Our reverence for the truth is a distraction.
Reverence for the truth might have become a bit of a distraction that is preventing us from finding consensus and getting important things done.
That's the CEO of NPR. That's what they believe the truth is. A distraction. How many more reasons do I have to give you? I mean, Donald Trump's on top of this. Here's Donald Trump Jr. 16 hours ago, he posted, why should taxpayers be forced to fund NPR's BS left-wing propaganda? He was quote tweeting Molly Hemingway, NPR now claiming it has a constitutional right to taxpayer funding, your money. Here we have PBS and NPR. They can run commercials like every other privately owned media company on the planet. How are they going to get funded? Well, run commercials, right?
Sponsored media. I'm a member of the Doge.
Okay, so this is CNN. We have Turd Tapper on the left, and we have let's see,
Subcommittee of Oversight. We were
Representative Brandon Gill, the Republican from Texas. Okay, sorry.
I'm a member of the Doge Subcommittee of Oversight. We were tasked with finding waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government and highlighting it. And one of those that we found, which Republicans and conservatives have talked about for decades, is state-sponsored media in the United States. China and North Korea have state-sponsored media. The United States does not need state-sponsored media. Listen, if Fox News or any other conservative news organization came to me and asked for taxpayer money, I would tell them no. And I certainly don't think we should be funding left-wing propaganda outlets like NPR or PBS. I had a hearing just a couple weeks ago where I got to question the head of NPR and ask her about some of the wild, outrageous things that she had been posting on the internet for the whole world to see, and she had no answer for that. The American people are sick of funding institutions who promote values that they find repugnant, and that's what we're doing with NPR and PBS. And that's what we are hopefully soon, via a rescission bill, going to pull those funds back. I'm a member of
those funds back, baby. Let's go. InfoWars. 14 hours ago, Christian prayer rally assaulted by Antifa in Seattle. Seattle Times headline, 23 arrests at heat of fascist family values protests in Seattle. Yeah, take a look at this. Christian prayer rally assaulted. Why? Unreal. Ted Cruz had this to say, your daily reminder 10 hours ago that NPR is brazen political propaganda, with a screenshot from the NPR public editor. Why haven't you seen any stories from NPR about the New York Post Hunter Biden story? Read more in this week's newsletter. We don't want to waste our time on stories that are not really stories, and we don't want to waste the listeners' and readers' time on stories that are just pure distractions. Terrence Samuels, NPR's managing editor for news on the New York Post Hunter Biden story. So that was Ted Cruz. He posted this just 10 hours ago. The screenshot from 2020. That's what NPR felt about the Hunter Biden laptop story. You heard Jim Jordan breaking it down right there in front of the CEO of NPR. Wesley Hunt. Now that President Trump's one big, beautiful bill is passed the House, it's time to defund NPR and PBS and make Elon's Doge cuts permanent. Let's finish the job and drain every last drop of the woke waste. This is what the American people voted for. Who is with me? I am. Here we go. More. Senator Ted Cruz, the Communication Acts of 1934, requires NPR to maintain strict objectivity and balance in all programs, particularly those addressing controversial topics. Last year, I released a detailed report showing how NPR accepted millions in donations from left-wing groups. That was earmarked last year, I released that was earmarked for targeted coverage. So left-wing groups funding NPR so that NPR would elevate left-wing issues. After accepting the funds, NPR's reporting aligned closely with the donor agenda. The Trump administration is right to hold NPR accountable. Let's take a listen to Ted Cruz.
All of us. I would note the ranking member had some comments on the defunding of NPR, and as some might say, there is the rest of the story. The Communications Act requires public media entities like NPR to strictly adhere to, quote, objectivity and balance in all programs or series of programs on a controversial nature. Unfortunately, NPR does not. Last Congress, I put out a detailed report how NPR took millions in earmarked donations from left-wing mega donors for very specific coverage. After receiving those donations, NPR churned out content precisely mirroring its donors' agendas. Likewise, the congressionally chartered independent television service paid for documentaries like, quote, racist trees to appear on PBS. NPR CEO Catherine Marr continues to deny that NPR has a story selection problem, even when senior editors are resigning because the bias is so overwhelming. Yet NPR continues to have a dedicated news desk for climate and for race, both of which are propped up by liberal megadonors. This is the same woman who in January 2020, months before the death of George Floyd, tweeted, quote, "Yes, the North. Yes, all of us. Yes, America. Yes, our original collective sin and unpaid debt. Yes, reparations. Yes, on this day." I think it's more than time for some accountability at NPR.
And accountability is coming. Finally. Moving right along, some of these tweets we've got exclusively bookmarked just for you, viewers of the Next News Network. Jim Banks, NPR, is suing the Trump administration. He posted this 5 hours ago, arguing that defunding them undermines the First Amendment. Here's the irony. NPR's own CEO has called the First Amendment the number one challenge to censoring information. You saw her in that little TED Talk, right? Well, here's more. Like, this is her talking point.
Real market economy. The number one challenge here that we see and is, of course, the First Amendment in the United States is a fairly robust protection of rights. And that is a protection of rights both for platforms, which I actually think is very important, that platforms have those rights to be able to regulate what kind of content they want on their sites. But it also means that it is a little bit tricky to really address some of the real challenges of where does bad information come from and sort of the influence peddlers who have made a real market economy around it. The number one challenge here...
The influence peddlers. You mean people who are actually presenting the truth that you have a problem with? Here is Congressman Brandon Gill. What you hear from the NPR CEO is last dying whimper of an antiquated organization that's about to have their corporate welfare taken away. President Trump finally defunded them, and House Republicans will ensure that these cuts are permanent. 7 hours ago, he posted this from Fox News Business.
Hear from Catherine Marr today is the last dying whimper of an antiquated organization that's about to have their corporate welfare pulled away from them. The American people are sick of their tax dollars funding radical left, wildly Marxist news outlets who hate the very things that this country was built on. During that hearing, I had the chance to ask her, do you believe that, for instance, America is addicted to white supremacy? She said, well, you know, I didn't really say that. Yes, you did actually say that. These people are insane, and we shouldn't be giving them our tax dollars. We're finally going to stop that. I'm so glad that we have a president who is taking this seriously. This is something that Republicans have been talking about for decades, and President Trump is finally doing it. And I can tell you, we're going to follow it up with Congress with rescission bills that permanently pull this money back.
Let's go. Pull it back. Here's some more Allie Starr. Good luck with that. Nowhere in the First Amendment does it say that taxpayers are required to fund left-wing propaganda. Reacting to the lawsuit, we saw that from Ted Cruz. Representative Andy Biggs, 16 hours ago. The First Amendment protects NPR's right to publish whatever news it wants. NPR can do it on its own dime. Taxpayer dollars should never fund propaganda fueled by Trump derangement syndrome. Quote tweeting the New York Times, breaking news, NPR said suing Trump over his executive order that aimed to end its federal funding, saying it violated the First Amendment. Cry me a river. New York Times posting that 17 hours ago. People coming in fast. Yeah. 60 Minutes Scott Peely's commencement speech at Wake Forest was 100% spot on. Free speech is literally the First Amendment. The Founding Fathers didn't make it first by accident.
But in this moment, this morning, our sacred rule of law is under attack. Journalism is under attack. Universities are under attack. Freedom of speech is under attack.
Is it really? How? I mean, I'm in the White House press corps. Seems like free speech is actually being respected. And it's expanding. more voices, more opportunities to digest information and make decisions on your own. I think that 60 Minutes Scott Peely's commencement speech is really just more fear porn from the dying mainstream media.
And insidious fear is reaching through our schools, our businesses, our homes, and into our private thoughts.
It's getting into our private thoughts. Obviously, these are all jabs at President Trump. This guy hates Trump. This guy is probably the worst of the worst when it comes to mainstream media. And he's just crying. Donald Trump's getting into our institutions. No, he's holding them accountable. There's a big difference. See, you guys just ran roughshod over institutions, over media for far too long, spreading lies and propaganda. It's 60 Minutes at NPR. Well, that party's freaking over. It's over. You gonna keep crying? Let's see what else he's got to say.
The fear to speak in America.
Wait, oh yeah, the fear to speak in America? Oh yeah? Try having a YouTube channel during the pandemic. We'll talk about free speech in America. Okay, buddy? While you guys were parroting Dr. Fauci, we were getting censored along with thousands of other Americans who were screaming. Really, dude?
Power can rewrite history with grotesque, false narratives.
My goodness, point by point, this guy. Who's the one peddling the grotesque, false narratives? NPR, 60 Minutes, the mainstream media, all of them. Wow.
They can make criminals heroes.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Who made criminals into heroes? Who is that guy? You know, BLM. They put the foot on the neck. Oh yeah, George Floyd. Didn't the media turn him into a hero over and over and over again? Surely he's not talking about Donald Trump and his expansion of free speech in this country. No, he can't. I mean, what's he talking about here?
Heroes, criminals. Power can change the definition of the words we use to describe reality. Diversity is now described as illegal. Equity is to be shunned. Inclusion is a dirty word.
Oh, yes. I mean, listen, this guy, he's pulling out the talking points that they were handed, that he was handed on from on high. And listen, DEI destroying America, corporate America, media, institutions, schools. DEI on its face is racist. Bottom line. And that's why it needed to be extracted from the public. It's not about equity. It's about equality. We are all equal. And there should never be anything, any policy in any position, government, private sector, that elevates anybody based on the color of their skin. At all. Full stop.
This is an old playbook, my friends. There's nothing new in this. But in this moment...
Yeah, keep crying, dude. Keep crying. Representative Mark Harris. Sorry, NPR, but nothing in the First Amendment requires taxpayer dollars to prop up left-wing propaganda. Occupy Democrats. Uh-oh, what are they saying? National Public Radio hits Donald Trump with a massive lawsuit. after he issues an authoritarian executive order targeting public broadcasting. A blatant violation of the First Amendment. And it gets better. Oh yeah, does it really? NPR will never agree to this infringement of our constitutional rights or the constitutional rights of our member stations. And NPR will not compromise our commitment to independent free press and journalistic integrity. That's what the NPR CEO, Catherine Maher, called the order unlawful. Trump signed the order earlier this month, directing the Republican-controlled Congress to gut funding from NPR and PBS because he despises their fact-based approach to reality. I think we just showed you. Ted Cruz just showed you. When they get their donations, they report in favor of those left-wing causes. Fact-based approach to reality. Any outlet that refuses to magnify MAGA lies is viewed as a threat. The lawsuit was filed in federal court in Washington, D.C. and argues that the order in question flatly contravenes statutes duly enacted by Congress and violates the separation of powers and the spending clause by disregarding Congress's expressed commands. It also violates the First Amendment's guarantees of freedom of speech and of the press. Well, that's why it's gone to Congress, all right? The order's objectives could not be clearer, it reads. The order aims to punish NPR for the content of news and the programming the president dislikes and chill the free exercise of First Amendment rights by NPR and individual public radio stations across the country. National Public Radio. Funded by your tax dollars. You know how many different choices do you have in media, in news consumption? The list goes on and on and on. NPR is basically just a tumor. It's a tumor that needs to be cut out. Continuing with this ridiculous post, this must be the line in the sand. This is Occupy Democrats, of course. If we allow Trump to dismantle free speech like this and terrorize any outlets that refuse to push his Republican view of the world, we will never recover as a democracy. Make your voice heard. Okay, what do you say, Mr. President Trump?
Basically, all I've done is keep my promise.
Yes, you have, sir. Thank you. Please retweet and heart if you stand with NPR. So I'll ask you this question. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe because it's time for my final thought. NPR's lawsuit exposes everything wrong with government-funded media. They genuinely believe that the First Amendment guarantees them taxpayer money to spread their agenda. That is not free speech. That's forced subsidy of propaganda. For decades, NPR has pushed left-wing narratives while pretending to be neutral. And now they're panicking because the gravy train has stopped. Republicans are right. Nothing in the Constitution requires us to fund their bias. NPR can publish whatever they want on their own dime. Plain and simple. The fact that they're suing instead of seeking private funding proves they know their content cannot survive in the free market. Real journalism doesn't need government life support. Their CEO admitted free speech is their number one challenge to controlling information. That tells you everything. So here's my question for you. Should any media organization that opposes free speech receive taxpayer funding? Simply yes or no in the comments below. And make sure you check out shop.nextnewsnetwork.com for merch that supports actual independent media. Okay. I know you guys want to get the answer to that question. I'm going to tell you the answer, but looks like Squeeze-A-Lot has had his wallet open, and I have been keeping track throughout this segment, and looks like we've got $5. So I'm going to read his super chats, as is the law here on the Raw feed. NPR experts And car rolls up next to a junkie, says, give you $100 to be an expert on our broadcast. Sounds about right. There's first $5 for the jar. Thank you, Sir Squeeze a lot. And then, again, $5. Where did the donations go? Racist trees? Another $5. Thank you, sir. Cash is rolling in tonight. Squeeze a lot. Again, $5. Criminals and the heroes like peaceful protesters, said by the MSM anchor as a Molotov cocktail is being thrown behind one of them. We'll never forget that moment, right? On CNN. Mostly peaceful. Thank you for that, Sir Squeeze a lot. And now the moment you've all been waiting for. The answer to our trivia question. When was National Public Radio established with federal funding authorization? Well, you guys said B, 1967. The Public Broadcasting Act, that was 44% of you. And if you were paying attention in that last segment, I did actually say the answer. And you may have heard me kind of go, uh-oh, because I realized I gave away the answer. The answer is B, 1967, with the Public Broadcasting Act. Congress created NPR to inform the public, not become a partisan propaganda machine demanding perpetual funding. All right, that's all for the segments, but we are going to check in with the main next news feed to see if there's anything going on. And then if you have any more super chats, we'll also check in with the main chat as well, see what's going on. Proud Elephant, 47 minutes ago. Trump has nothing to fear with Jasmine. Then Representative Jasmine Crockett says Trump is terrified of intelligent black women. Yes, of course. Trump has nothing to fear then. Dr. Thomas Carr, OP. What's this? Is there pastoral responsibility and canonical right? 4 pastors of the impact have written Charlotte Bishop. I don't know what that's about. Not good news. Pope appoints Archbishop Paglia's right-hand man as president of... I'm not sure what that's about. Harmeet Dillon, okay. Regarding Minneapolis consent decree situation, Judge Magnuson granted the motion to dismiss today, driving a stake through the heart of a non-case and then backing back up over it. She footnotes taking aim at collusive consent. I'm not sure what she's talking about there. Oh, okay. Dr. Asim Malhotra. This is the elephant in the room. Rather than being primary source of the most credible scientific studies that most doctors are indoctrinated to believe, prominent medical journals have been reduced to being vehicles for perpetuating big pharma fraud. I know what he's talking about here. RFK is going to go into the point about how these journals they're just echo chambers for the propaganda from the media, from the scientific journals and doctors. But I think one big piece of news that we didn't cover in the main show today was the fact that RFK, I'm going to see if I can find that post. We posted it when it broke this morning. Here's the thread we just posted. How is that thread doing, by the way? 174,000 views. Yeah, baby. 208 reposts, 27 quotes, 797 likes, 231 bookmarks. If you haven't seen this, this was the first topic of the night that we covered on Fort Knox. You can go check it out. Of course, I already covered it here, but it's always good when you guys repost our stuff. And we will get the segment that we reported on of this posted on the bottom of that as soon as the segment is out. Okay, let's find. I'm going to find that post from. Okay, so this is the post here. I just want to bring this up because not something that we posted on the channel, but this was sort of a pre-interview I did today with Jonathan Otto. And the interview, we're going to drop the full interview tomorrow. We talked about some revolutionary stuff. Naturally, I was skeptical about it. It's a great interview. Talk about some stuff that my wife has introduced, and you'll like the interview. And I'm actually excited because we didn't talk about this in the interview, but I'm going to tell you guys now. He's actually going to send me one of his devices, and I'm going to put it to the test. I'm going to see how it works, and I'm going to let everybody know. But I'm excited because the stuff I learned in the interview was pretty freaking cool. But before the interview, I got him to react to Robert F. Kennedy's announcement. I'll play the announcement in a second here. But again, this segment is a must-watch. At this point, it only has 2,200 views, 6 reactions, but you need to watch this because something he said before our interview like really hit me hard. And so anyway, here's the post. RFK Jr. has pulled a COVID vax from the CDC's recommended schedule for healthy kids and pregnant women. In this exclusive X-only interview, I sit down with Jonathan Otto to expose the real reason this happened and the man who first lit the match, Dr. Rashid Buttar. We talk about how my viral interview with Dr. Buttar shocked the world, triggered a mass awakening, and helped millions. You see that. Then, of course, he was gone. I'm talking about Dr. Rashid Buttar. So we reflect on that. The question I ask was a retribution. We go in deep on Robert Kennedy Jr.'s role at HHS, the war inside the bureaucracy, and the path to medical freedom. So this was an X exclusive. I encourage you guys to check it out. But here is the moment that it brought tears to my wife's eyes today when I shared it with her. My wife is a Maha mom, and she supports RFK. I support RFK. You guys know that. But this was the moment that really broke the internet. RFK Jr. confirms CDC has removed the COVID shot from its recommended immunization schedule for healthy kids and pregnant women. A stunning reversal. But this is not justice, it's damage control. Who will answer for the lives that were forever changed?
To support. Hi, everybody. I'm Robert F. Kennedy Jr., your HHS Secretary, and I'm here today with NIH Director Dr. Jay Bhattacharya and FDA Commissioner Dr. Marty Makary. I couldn't be more pleased to announce that as of today, the COVID vaccine for healthy children and healthy pregnant women has been removed from the CDC recommended immunization schedule. Last year, the Biden administration urged healthy children to get yet another COVID shot despite the lack of any clinical data to support the repeat booster strategy in children.
That ends today. It's common sense and it's good science.
There's no evidence healthy kids need it today, and most countries have stopped recommending it for children.
We're now one step closer to realizing President Trump's promise to make America healthy again.
Produced by
God bless him.
The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
I want to make sure for the YouTube minders who are watching this, that's an official government message. All right? So think twice. All right? Because we got RFK Jr. on our side. We got Donald Trump on our side. Right, Don?
Fox and Friends in the morning, they're very honorable people. From this day forward, it's going to be only America first.
Yes, sir. America first, baby. All right, I'm going to read some of your chats real quick here, and then we got to bounce no more taxpayer money to any private university unless they're doing economically actionable research that benefits the United States. Thank you, L.A. Ari's Vixen, so glad I didn't get it. I still got injured from the V. Probably would have been worse with it. Duty to rebel. That's right, baby. I love it. Fight, fight, fight. So, Patriots, what a show we've had tonight. We've exposed 5 massive stories that prove the establishment is crumbling before our eyes. We started with Fort Knox, the greatest financial mystery in American history. Trump promised transparency. Musk promised live streams. Then they both went completely silent. For over 50 years, no independent audit has verified our gold reserves. Senators with nuclear clearance can't even get inside. The message is clear. Whatever's in that vault or not, it would shatter the global economy if exposed. And then we have this from Squeeze-A-Lot. All right, okay. Our American medical system is bleeped. Take this pill for this and that. 0 for nutrition. Your cholesterol's high. Your blood pressure is fine. Take this to possibly become diabetic. Thank you for that. Squeeze a lot. Bringing us to $180.99. So back to the point here. Whatever or what isn't in that vault could shatter the global economy if exposed. Every American holding dollars deserves the truth about what backs our currency. And then, of course, we witness the slap heard around the world. French President Macron getting slapped by his own wife on the world stage. This was not a private dispute. It was public humiliation that every world leader saw. When you can't command respect in your own marriage, how can you lead a nation? And what happened? The French, they tried to cover it up and dismiss it as a joke, but violence, of course, is never a joke, especially when it reveals the corrupt power dynamic that started when Macron was just 15 years old. And then we broke down the reckoning at Harvard. Trump froze billions in funding and ordered mass deportations because the so-called American institution put foreign interests first. 31% foreign students, while qualified Americans get rejection letters. And when Trump demanded to know who these students are, Harvard refused. And now they're facing the consequences of choosing global money over American students. Every university in America better be taking notes. And then the Democrats' $20 million SAM project exposed their complete disconnect from reality. They're studying young men like lab rats, infiltrating video games and trying to decode viral syntax instead of addressing why men actually fled their party. You can't manufacture authenticity. You can't buy back voters you spent years attacking. Young men choose strength, purpose, and conservative values because the left offer them nothing but contempt. And finally, NPR's lawsuit revealed the ultimate hypocrisy. An organization whose CEO called free speech the #1 challenge now claims that the First Amendment guarantees taxpayer funding. They want you forced to pay for their propaganda while they work to silence opposing views. Republicans are standing firm. Free speech doesn't mean free money. So thank you, everybody who sent in Super Chats and Rumble Rants tonight. $180.99. It's your support that keeps independent media alive. And a shout out to all of our new YouTube members and everyone representing in the chat. You make this show possible. Remember, tell a friend about the raw feed. Share tonight's stream. Hit up our merch shop at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com and wear your values proudly. Every purchase supports real journalism that isn't afraid to tell the truth. It's a late night here in the Next News Network studios. We've been burning it for 2 hours and 31 minutes. But we'll see you on the next time on the raw feed, where we bring you the news that matters, the reactions that count, and the truth they don't want you to hear. Until then, I'm Gary Franchi, reminding you to stay vigilant, stay informed, and keep fighting for the Republic.